Hi, this is Rachelle from Rivet Patterns, and in this video we're going to be talking about a broad or narrow back adjustment. You might need a broad back adjustment if it feels really tight across between your shoulder blades on your back, especially if you're reaching your arms forward. A narrow is going to be the opposite. You might notice you have excess folds hanging between, especially if it's supposed to be a fitted garment. So knowing how much to add or take out is probably going to take a little bit of experimentation. With a narrow, you can kind of pinch out the excess and get a better idea. With the broad, you're going to want to do it slowly. Another thing that can tell you is if you are basing your pattern by your over bust and you're finding that you have extra, it feels too big across your neck and your shoulder, but your measurements are correct. Part of that can possibly be that your proportions are different. So if you have a broad back here and you have a narrower front, it means you're pushing yourself into a bigger size, which gives you bigger shoulder and necklines. What you may need is actually a smaller size with a broad back adjustment. It's kind of the opposite of a full bust adjustment, but you could also need both. It's entirely possible. So one thing at a time, right? So let's go ahead and get this going. I'm going to try and do this sideways because you can see it better with the orientation, but I've only done this vertically, so hopefully I don't get turned around. So we need a few points of access here. So the first one, you're going to draw, it's going to mark kind of below the waistline here. The other one, you're going to mark in the middle of the shoulder length, slightly towards the arm side is better. And then another one around halfway through. Okay, so let's draw on our seam allowances. Rivet Patterns have a 3/8 seam allowance. I am just judging, very eyeballing this. You will want to be a lot more accurate. Because our hinge points will be right here and right here. So when you're working with seam allowances on, you have to do snips from two directions to make that hinge work properly. A lot of times when I do adjustments, I take the seam allowances off, do the adjustment, and then add them back on, but it's a lot of extra steps. So I know a lot of people would not be interested in more work. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is draw a line perpendicular to the back. If there's a center back fold, that's what it's going to be. Otherwise, try and find the grain line so that you're going straight. So we're going to go straight down. This about to where you drew, where your mark is down here. And then perpendicular to that. Draw that over there. And then, lastly, I'm going to draw this very, very short little line here between the hinges. Now we're not adding a ton of room in this. And remember that it's double. So if you feel like you need an inch across your back, you only need to do a 1/2 inch adjustment because this is repeated when you put your other back bodice together. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is snip into the seam allowance to our hinge mark to make those. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and cut. Use some tape here so I don't lose it. Okay, so go ahead and cut to that point, and then all the way up. When you get here to the top, cut as close as you can to where you made your first snip without going through. If you do go through, it's no big deal. Tape it back together, recut. And the same for right in the arm side. So now we have movement. It's harder this way. There we go. So we can add all sorts of stuff or take it away. So what you want to do is you're going to figure out how much you want to add. So we want to add about a 1/2 inch right here across the back. Okay, so you want to keep this static, and you want to keep your waistline so your side seams don't move, and hinge it right here. So you can see we've added this here. So after you've gone and done this, you're going to trace this onto a piece of paper, and then you're going to come back and true up where your hinges are. So you'll draw from shoulder point to shoulder point to make that flat again. And then also right here you can see there's kind of a point. So smooth that out either with a French curve or just eyeball it. So this way you can change how much room is in the back without changing the length of your arm side, your side seam, or your shoulder length. Now for a narrow, it's the exact same thing, but you want to overlap. So you're going to move it in. So let's say you want to go in by 1/2 inch, be like about there, give or take. So you're going to want to bring it in and over so that you're lining up with that, and then make sure that your side seams are matching up. Okay, again, you're going to trace this onto paper, and then you're going to come back and true up your shoulder seam. So get rid of that extra little point and make sure that your arm side is nice and smooth. And that's all there is to it.